And they clearly have their own, we just shoot, literally there's 3 cameras there and it's like, it's not hard to pick really, is it? Yeah, okay. In this episode, we visit the beach that has been voted the very best in half a planet. Later, I have a face-to-face encounter with one of the most feared creatures in the whole of the ocean, and this time it's not from behind the safety of perspex. And we have one of the strangest incidents, which leaves us all thinking that perhaps the truth really is out there. Welcome to wild Western Australia, where the desert meets an incredible underwater world. If you love an Australian adventure by road, then you're not alone. But if the Great Ocean Road isn't so great anymore, or your average overland is just overdone, then come with me as I take you out there, the road trip less travelled. Australia is truly spoilt for pristine ocean and dream beaches, and almost all of this nation's 26,000 kilometres of coastline is breathtakingly beautiful and unrivaled globally. The Great Barrier Reef, Great Ocean Road and Bondi Beach are all well known on a world stage for good reasons. But hidden away on the far-flung coast of Western Australia is a strip of coast that offers a portal into a silent world that you might not even know existed, but you'll definitely never forget. This is an adventure along the Coral Coast. And it all starts in Perth, the world's most remote capital city. But if you can make the trip, Western Australia's capital provides a gateway to some hidden gems both above and below the water. And as we would discover, this coastline's proximity to nothing is absolutely part of the charm. For this adventure, we have selected the Toyota LandCruiser Prado, a car which I think not only looks fantastic and very much the part, but actually walks the walk as well. This is the Altitude variant, which means it gets a few extra off-road focused goodies, such as rear and centre locking differential. It's got a front anti-roll bar that you can disconnect. It's got knobbly tyres, and it's also got a really big fuel tank, 110 litres, which is a little bit smaller than the previous version, but still adequate for a trip like this. Under the bonnet, you get a 2.8 litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel, which has been modernised with a 48-volt hybrid system, which means it's a little bit torquier and hopefully a little bit more efficient. 150 kilowatts and 500 newton meters, certainly adequate for what we're doing. This one has also been updated with a couple of lovely off-road focused accessories. This is the original Toyota Snorkel, which looks beautiful and integrated. And this, my favourite, the proper original Toyota roo bar or bull bar, depending on what you want to call it. You may or may not know, but in previous car sales reviews, one of these was damaged by a journalist who will remain nameless. So my challenge is to absolutely not damage this car. One other thing I absolutely love about it, that colour. It complements that styling so beautifully, and if you know anything about this car and what that colour's called, it's going to give you a little clue as to where we're headed. As a general rule, I've found that a 2,000 kilometre road trip is infinitely more pleasant if the journey is made while not nursing any broken limbs. So the very first thing I did on day one was head to Lancelin, about an hour and a half north of Perth, where I would deliberately throw myself down a hill protected by nothing more than a pair of figure-hugging jorts. So apparently, sandboarding is a thing. Move! But the safety and instructional part is, well, it's non-existent. That was progress, that was definitely progress. If you're on a budget for food, come sandboarding. It costs 10 bucks and you eat so much sand you won't be hungry for the rest of the day. With all my arms and legs still attached, I counted my blessings and got back on the road. And after the excitement of discovering I'm some kind of sandboarding prodigy, I went in search of something more serene and just as intriguing. Less than an hour further north from the dunes, you'll find the Pinnacles Desert Park, a strange formation that's been fascinating visitors for centuries. And a lot of people when they visit here assume that it's formed by either volcanic or tectonic movements, but it's not. This used to be a huge sandy basin formed by billions of dead seashells blown up here from the nearby coastline. And then acid rain fell on those seashells and dissolved them into a liquid that ran down into the tree roots underneath the sands. And they re-solidified there as a substance called calcrete. And that protected the sandstone columns underneath, so that when the erosion came from winds and more rain, they were protected and they were remained as these, what are now called pinnacles. And it's so strange because when you look around, it looks like they were deliberately placed here, like some human activity, like Stonehenge or something. But they're not, they all just happened here naturally because of the placement of trees. But what is really strange is how there's a series of tiny pinnacles placed in a loop around here, conveniently the exact width of a modern vehicle. I mean, what are the chances of that? It's amazing. What a beauty. Oh, it's a really pointy one. Could have your eye out, that could. Should I be wearing PPE to be near this one? I mean, I could stumble and have my eye out on that. Oh, there perfect, that's it. That's it, I've got Johnny's safety hat on.
And your safety specs.
Amazing. Oh no, these are good. Oh my God. Oh wow. Oh my God, your eyes. Is this the way you see the world, Johnny? Wow, no wonder you're so optimistic all the time. As you can probably see, if Western Australia was a business, stunning natural beauty would be its company motto. But it offers a few landmarks that are so striking, you might struggle to believe they're natural at all.
We're going to do a piece of camera with this leaning tree, but it's, well, as you can see, it's pretty weird.
That's not very nice.
It is. It's We're not including that in our video. What's wrong with you?
But I promise you, this next one isn't some kind of industrial disaster or a prank. That is Hutt Lagoon, or simply known as just Pink Lake, for quite obvious reasons. The water in this lake is about 10 times saltier than the sea that's just the other side of those dunes, and that's allowed it to do something pretty special. An algae that grows in this produces a really unique compound. And that's why over on the far side there's a facility that extracts that compound and uses it in natural food dye. And that compound is beta-carotene, the exact same compound that's in carrots that makes them...
Doesn't make sense, because aren't carrots are orange?
Duh! Me. For the most vibrant colours, Pink Lake is best visited when the skies are clear and the sun is out, when the blue heavens perfectly complement the flamingo water. And while we could have been luckier with the weather for our visit, we soon realised it could have been worse. A lot worse. Well, during the making of this series, we visited the darkest place in Australia. We've visited one of the driest places in the whole nation. We've even been to the place with the cleanest air. But today, we're in the wettest place in the entire country. Kalbarri typically isn't the wettest place in the whole of Australia, but today, we're getting more rain than anywhere else in this lovely nation. Brilliant. Time for a cup of tea. But we're not letting the rain dampen our spirit of adventure, because maybe there are a few advantages that a good old cloudburst brings to a place when there's so much to do. But first, you have to get out there. And when the entire area is experiencing about a quarter of its annual average in just one day, road trips can get a little bit more exciting than the average too. Not far out of town, there's a geological treasure that might make you think we're not in WA, but Arizona. A very damp Arizona. About an hour outside Kalbarri is this, the Kalbarri Skywalk, and it offers you a view of the Murchison River like nothing else. Far out, that's amazing. The layers and the colours that all come out, even on a miserable day like today, are just extraordinary. Just a stone's throw away is another natural wonder carved out of the rock that is worth a visit. But if you happen to be here on a day as foul as this, then it's likely that instead of the queue of tourists waiting for their turn at a selfie, you'll have the whole attraction all to yourself. They call it Nature's Window. Incredibly, the rock formations that vault high above the river below were once tidal flats and were carved out by the Murchison River when it flowed about 100 metres above its current level, hundreds of millions of years ago. The window itself, though, was actually formed by the Howling Canyon winds. Of course, this magical portal would be wonderful to behold on a perfect clear day, but there's something equally special about peering through the window when the ancient rocks are doused in nature's varnish and there's not another soul around. Except for them, of course. In the end, the heavens dumped a whopping 85mm of rain on us in just 24 hours, about an inch more than the forecast had predicted. But the elements were clearly just getting something out of its system, because the next day, we were rewarded with an unbelievable change. We've established that a sandboard is a perfectly viable vehicle for exploring sand dunes, but it's governed by two key factors: coefficient of friction and gravity. So what about if we swapped friction for a set of 4 wheels and gravity for a V-twin petrol engine? As if you couldn't tell, I'm having a great time right now. And of course, we have to make a notable mention of the elements today. What a difference a day makes. We're now heading up into the dunes inland for an entirely different experience and completely different view. And a little bit faster. That's amazing. I'm just going to put it out there, I'm having a fucking great time. So far, I've been spoiled by the Western Australian land and seascapes. Stunning vistas from above. But that tantalising band of blue is home to some incredible wildlife, one of the main attractions people travel to the Coral Coast to see. So it's time to get intimate with the ocean and explore, quite literally, a little deeper. Keep heading along Perhon Peninsula and you'll eventually come to Monkey Mire, where we're seeking our first actual interaction with sea life. Here, each day, a number of mammalian celebrities visit the shore, delighting thousands of visitors every year. But amazingly, no one knows exactly why the dolphins like to show up. Monkey Mire Ranger Kelly explained more about the extraordinary animals and their relationship to the eco-resort. One of the interesting things you started your presentation with is you asked how long ago people have been here. So, and there was a couple in the audience that had been here more than 40 years ago,
Yeah, I think
which was
they said
amazing.
43 years ago.
43 years.
Yeah.
But there have been dolphin-human interactions going on here for way longer than that. About when did it all begin here?
I'm giving you information that I've been told. Obviously, I wasn't here 100 plus years ago to find that out. But there are stories of local traditional owners, the Mulgana people, who were feeding the smaller fish from their catch to the dolphins as a throwaway snack for the dolphins here, pre-colonial history. Once people started camping in this local area, that's when we really started to see the dolphins being overfed.
Right.
And it did equal a 90% calf mortality rate for this population of dolphins. A normal number for calf mortality with dolphins is about 30%, and that's what we're sitting with now. So
that's as a result of the efforts that you go to here to create what is an amazing experience, as we've experienced for ourselves now, for over 100,000 people every year.
That's right. Yeah.
And yet you still manage to do it in a sustainable way and an environmentally sensitive way. How do you do that?
We record data every single day for every single experience of which dolphins are coming inshore, which dolphins we can see offshore, what kind of behaviours they're displaying, how much they are given to eat.
I'm being distracted because even as we speak, the dolphins are back fishing right behind us here. It's absolutely amazing. Why do they come in? I'm fascinated.
Part of it could be the pattern that's been set in place over those 100 years of knowing that we will be here in the morning. But I also think there is something magic about the dolphins.
And you can really sense it when you're here and you're
Yeah.
sort of looking right into the eye of that
Yeah.
dolphin. You can feel, obviously undeniable, they're such intelligent beings, but you can see their curiosity as well. And
Absolutely. I often say to the crowd, if you feel like they're looking at you, they're looking at you. That's exactly what they're doing.
I tried to hide my disappointment that there were no monkeys, but buoyed by the amazing interaction with the dolphins, we headed out in search of another unique element that makes the Western Australian coast so special. Australia's remote areas are known worldwide for two incredible features: the azure oceans that surround the entire nation and that unmistakable outback red dirt. Now you can go anywhere in the country and we're spoilt for so many places you can see those two things in isolation, but here is one of the few places in the whole nation where you can see those two stunning colours come together. This is where the desert meets the sea. The sandy trails through the Francois Perrin National Park were among the most fun we'd encountered, and my undying selflessness once again got the better of me as I handed the keys to the Prado to producer Johnny. And to reward me for my generosity, he immediately found the biggest puddle he could and, yeah, that. A quick tub on the way back to camp undid his handiwork, and we settled into another perfect evening after another perfect day. The next day we set out for another long stretch on the road, retracing our tracks back down the peninsula, rejoining the mainland and heading further north to Coral Bay. But just a few kilometres from Monkey Mia, Ren made an unexpected detour away from the main road. What the hell is that? Should I have brought an offering? Oh my god, you know what might be here? The mystery thongs we found at the Gravel Oval in Queenstown. It's either charming or it's really creepy. Like I'm getting Blair Witch vibes. Johnny, be very polite if you left an offering to the thong gods. Come on, they've had a good life.
There you go.
There you go, Johnny, well done. Thanks, Ren, this is cool. And also really weird. Up to this point in our journey, all roads and trails had been fairly tame and easily negotiated by even a two-wheel drive. But it was time for the Prado to show what it can do and demonstrate what an advantage a proper four-wheel drive is in a place like this. Sensational. Wow. That is nuts. How good is the LandCruiser, by the way? The reason it's so good is it tells you what's going on. You realise where it's having to work hard. It doesn't feel like it's like hiding it all under electronics. It's so confidence inspiring. And then you come to places like this. One of the things that has earned the Toyota Prado its reputation over many, many years is its off-road ability. And we found a perfect spot on this little mountain close to the coast for a viewing opportunity, and the only way to get up it is on this pretty gnarly sand track, and I'm so happy to say the Prado just took it in its stride. Just left it in 4 high, didn't need to put it into 4 low, didn't need to lock any diffs. All I did is flick the dial around to sand mode and it is just fantastic. There are a few other 4x4s out there that could probably match the off-road ability of the Prado, potentially in a hardcore test. But the key difference between this car and perhaps some challenges to the model is that when you're out here, you can't afford for anything to go wrong. And if you're in some kind of 4x4 park and you've got a support vehicle, you might take a couple risks with some of those Challenger models. But I don't think there are many other vehicles that we could be this far out in the middle of nowhere and this remote, and I'd take a chance like I did with the Prado. I'm very happy to say it was worth taking the risk because the views have been sensational. But our road trip was about to take a turn for the strange. Honestly, I shit you not, there was a tiny white point of light directly above the road. Looked like it could have been plane altitude, but it literally blinked twice. It could have been a plane just catching the sun, but the fact that it did it like a few times rhythmically was really weird. It didn't look like a plane. That's so weird. Among the handful of legends and folklore that surround the Coral Bay region is a phenomenon known as the Min Min light, a strange glow that reportedly follows travellers with an eerie glowing orb or two. I don't have any reception. Do you have the flight radar app on your phone?
Flight radar? I do, yes.
The f***ing weirdest thing just happened.
Did you see the twinkling thing in the sky?
You're not shitting me.
No, I saw it too. I was like, what the fuck is that?
We saw it too, and it was literally like 10 minutes after Andy had been reading me the urban myth of the Min Min lights along this road.
Oh, what?
I shit you not. That is so weird. Had we just encountered the Min Min light? This mysterious phenomenon has been reported all over outback Australia, but there's a concentration on this particular stretch of road between Route 1 and Coral Bay. I think that weirdness warrants exploring a little further. So we're heading back to that very same stretch of road after dark, the very time that the Min Min lights are most frequently reported and in the place they're most frequently reported. The Min Min light is a truly bizarre phenomenon. We don't know a lot about it, but what we do know is it's been happening for a very long time. Indigenous communities have been reporting the Min Min light long before European settlers arrived in this area. Some people say that it's a dull white, from a bright white to a sort of creamy yellow. Others say it changes from red to green. What we definitely don't know is what causes it, but there are a number of compelling theories. Some people say that it's bioluminescence and perhaps clusters of insects that have eaten something that makes them glow, like a fungus in the area. And the same goes for geophysical events like marsh gas or piezoelectric currents sparking in the environment. Once again, there's no evidence, and there's certainly not the right conditions in this area to make that happen. But there's two other theories that I think are a bit closer to the truth. Light refraction. Now that's a light source many kilometers away, out of the line of sight, that is being bent around corners and perhaps over those hills by difference in layers of air and the temperature, which can trap the light like light in a fibre optic cable and transport it from places many kilometers away. Some people say that if that's the theory, it could be up to 300 kilometers from the source of light when it gets observed here. Indigenous communities said that the Min Min lights used to be completely static, and when you saw one it wouldn't move. But in more recent years, now people say they do move. And that could be because campfires from many thousands of years ago wouldn't move, but now headlights of cars do. Could it be an explanation? There's one more theory I really like. Nearby where we are here right now, the Ministry of Defence uses the area to test air weapons. Now, if that's not got something to do with the Min Min lights, then I'm not sure what does. What's that? Johnny! Thought we had the Min Min lights, mate. So the mystery of the Min Min light remains, and no doubt travellers will continue to be drawn to this remote stretch of asphalt for a chance to see them for themselves and perhaps explain exactly what causes this mysterious glow. I was still feeling a little lazy after our meeting with the dolphins at Monkey Mire. After all, I had just stood there and the magical mammals had simply come to me. So I decided it was only right to put in a little effort if I wanted to see more amazing sea life. If we could capture the screaming children in the background, that'd be great as well. If anyone mentions snorkelling on a reef in Australia, most people would immediately imagine the Great Barrier Reef, which is an awesome experience. As we found out in episode 2, in the Daintree. But to do that, we needed a boat and a significant amount of time. But here, just a short way outside Coral Bay, all you need to do to get to one of the most epic reefs in the entire country is find a four-wheel drive and a couple of these. Oh, and remember earlier I mentioned the colour of the Toyota Prado? It's called Ningaloo Blue. And out there is Ningaloo Reef. You don't even need to be a particularly strong swimmer either, with the coral and the amazing life it supports starting as soon as you enter the water. Even in June, the water is a very comfortable 25 degrees, and a majority of the stinging jellyfish are gone for the winter. So you can focus on spotting amazing fish, turtles and coral formations without distraction. The fish are just as intense as the Great Barrier Reef. But for me, the most amazing thing is that you're literally just walking off the beach and it's right there all for you. And it almost feels like a more exclusive and intimate experience because of just being able to be out there by yourself.
Swimming with that turtle, I think is the most special thing I've ever done in my life.
Well, you wait, we're going to do whale sharks tomorrow. This is Thunder, the Coral Bay Eco Tours boat, and it's going to take us out to the furthest parts of the reef and beyond. Regular cruises like Coral Bay Eco Tours are the next level up from a self-guided swim through the coral forests by yourself. And the team of experts use their extensive knowledge and experience to take you straight to the wildlife hotspots, where you can swim with manta rays, turtles, and even whale sharks. Unfortunately, the weather had once again turned against us, and the water was simply too hazardous to risk jumping in. But while we headed to a safer site inside the reef, marine biologist Ellie explained just why the Ningaloo is such a drawcard to so many travellers. Right now we're sat on top of another reef that not many people have heard of. It's Ningaloo Reef, and I want to know why people don't perhaps talk about it so much and why people should consider this reef if they want to come have an amazing experience looking at marine life.
So originally, the way that I actually found the Ningaloo was I was on Google Maps satellite, because I used to love looking at Google Map imagery of reefs around the world. And obviously everyone talks about the Great Barrier. So immediately I start looking at that reef. And it's a beautiful reef system. It's one of the oldest reefs in the entire world, which is why it's so big. But then immediately I kind of noticed the west coast of Australia, and nobody talks about the west coast really. But when I started zooming in on the coastline of WA, I was immediately struck by how red and barren the land is, but then how beautifully turquoise and amazing the reef system was. I also think the fact that we're so close to land here, like you can literally, if you, on a good day, if you wanted to swim out from land, you could, and immediately you're just on top of beautiful, healthy reef.
I reckon the accessibility is one of its main selling points. And I know that, you know, Western Australia is a long way from, well, let's be honest, everything. To me, the distance to travel to get here is offset by how accessible and amazing the reef is once you get here.
Yeah, I think the fact that it's so isolated as well has kept it pretty protected. There's not, you know, heaps of people living along the coastline, so there's less development to put, you know, runoff into the water that's not necessarily as good for the reef.
For safety reasons, we weren't able to go out and see the whale sharks, unfortunately.
Devastating.
The whale shark is one of the main draw cards. Tell us some things about those amazing fish. They are the world's biggest fish?
Yeah, biggest fish. Yep, one of 3 kinds of filter feeding shark as well, which is cool. So that's where they get their whale part of the name from. So they are technically sharks.
There's some fascinating things about them, but one of the things that I find most fascinating is all the stuff we don't know about them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're such an enigmatic species.
Super beautiful and so charismatic. Everyone knows of the whale shark and wants to swim with them. But because they can dive so deep, they're quite elusive, like research-wise. We're only really learning more about them recently as technology's gotten better. Yeah,
you get to come out every day. Your career is being on these amazing waters. What does a great day on the water look like for you? You're like, what's the perfect day?
Well, first of all, the morning snorkel sets the tone. Seeing the turtles this morning, always a good sign. And then I always love when it's humpback whale season, getting to see the humpies jumping and breaching and playing around on the back of the reef.
Incredible.
I recommend you guys come back for that.
From what you just described, we have some pretty favourable conditions for snorkeling right now.
Yeah, we do, yeah.
So let's not waste any more time above water. Let's get down into it and see what we can see.
Let's do it.
Thanks so much, Alex.
So
It's amazing talking to you.
No worries.
Unfortunately for everyone, While chatting to Ellie, I had missed out on a critical part of the next reef explore, and that vital instruction was to absolutely not dive down to meet the sharks. And just as I was wondering if being approached by a trio of grey reef sharks was a bad situation, I was grabbed by one of the most frightening creatures in all of the water. And as I was diving through the water, I saw these 3 sharks. I'm like, cool. And then suddenly Laura grabs me from behind and takes me up to the surface. I was like, whoa. And she was like, you're not supposed to dive here. I'm like, why are you fucking I just literally been grabbed from behind as I'm looking at sharks.
Did we put shark bite in a risk assessment?
Perhaps a day away from the underwater world was a good idea, and a chance to reacquaint myself with the land. And what better way than a stay at a cattle station, a working farm with a delicious twist. I caught up with 3rd generation station owner Tim to find out more. It is important to point out it's a fully working cattle station.
Well, historically it was a merino place, and these days, you know, we've gone out of sheep. We've always had cows, but we've lifted the cattle numbers up. Yeah.
And how long ago was it that you decided to branch out and do something a little bit more sort of tourist focused, and of course bring in some fine food, which I want to talk about as well?
It's sort of just organically evolved, so we just kept growing with it. People just looking for different experiences, and it's authentic, it's rustic if you like, it's got a lot of character.
Because you're so remote out here, it feels like you all sort of back each other up.
The Exmouth Coral Bay community is so supportive, and during disasters, which you're probably all aware of, the community was amazing. They just stepped in, and that's why we've managed to recover from that cyclone Narelle so well.
It's still pretty raw at the moment, isn't it? It was not long ago at all.
Yeah.
And you know, if we refocus the cameras, there's actually evidence of your property alone that's copped it pretty hard.
Yeah, well, all our bedrooms we can't live in, so we're living in the central part of the house. When the insurance is finalised, we'll be able to start rebuilding all that.
Here at Ballara Station, Chef Toby has brought fine dining to the sheds that used to house sheep and shearers, replacing the shears with kitchen knives and putting the very finest local produce on the menu. I'm pretty excited about this. This is pork raised on a station just a little way down the road. It's served with onion rings and mashed potato. A good pork chop, free range, properly raised pork, could be an entirely different animal to the cheap crap you can buy at supermarkets. It is that different, and that is about as good as pork gets. It's an increasing movement. You know, we saw over at the Prairie Hotel in Parachuna, there's the feral food movement, you know, incredibly fine dining in places you wouldn't expect it. Where is this demand coming from?
I think it's just spread its wings from the cities, obviously. The proof is in the pudding, the food's something special.
Big call. This is the best cheesecake I think I've ever had.
People, when they do get in and experience, they think, oh my God, we're out here and we're getting this. Yeah, it's quite unique to work on a station, then come home to all these people and the guests and have an amazing meal or have a quiet drink with, you know, some amazing people that visit here.
I've had a bit of a problem with Toyotas in recent years. Don't get me wrong, they're very good cars in an objective sense. They're very dependable, the service network and after sales is excellent. If you're driving around Australia like this, Toyota makes a lot of sense because there's a chance everywhere you go someone knows how to fix it and they know where to get parts fast. I get that, Toyotas have done that well for many years. But there's something missing with pretty much everything I've driven that doesn't have a GR badge on it. I'll give you an example. I've owned the same washing machine for nearly 20 years. It has never put a foot wrong, it's never required anyone to come out and repair it, it just washes clothes flawlessly, which makes it a very dependable machine and very reliable. But we're definitely not best friends, and that's kind of what I feel has been missing with a lot of Toyotas until the GR badge came along. This car though is different. In the time that we've had it in Western Australia, it has been entirely dependable. I mean, I know it's only done 10,000 kilometers, but it's a Toyota, so it probably would do that for another 400,000 kilometers. It's also proven itself as a really capable off-road vehicle, and actually with literally no modifications or even dropping the tire pressures, it has taken us anywhere without complaint. And honestly, over the course of over a week, I feel like I've kind of bonded with it. And it's definitely the first Toyota I've driven in recent years that doesn't have a GR badge on it that I'm actually starting to really love. The end of our journey looms. A road trip that's been punctuated by natural treasures at almost every turn. But as the Northwest Cape narrows to a point, a giant wonder towers above the scorched sands. This time, not a structure sculpted by time or geology, but a mighty monument to human achievement, and I simply had to take a closer look. That is the whole reason the entire town of Exmouth exists at all. It is the Naval Communications Station Howard E. Holt, and I'm sorry, you're going to have to indulge me for a few minutes because I feel like I need to geek out about it. Because it's one of the most impressive engineering things I think I've ever seen with my own two eyes. It was built in the 60s to communicate with both US and Australian naval ships via VLF. If you're interested, 19.8 kilohertz. But if you're struggling to understand the sheer scale and awesomeness of it, I'm going to try and put it into some facts and figures for you because I think it is absolutely staggering. It occupies a site of 400 hectares, it's 13 towers, and the central one, Tower 0, measures nearly 390 meters tall. It's also extremely powerful, 1 megawatt of transmission power, which is kind of meaningless, so let me put that into perspective as well. That is a 5-watt handheld radio transmitter. That thing is 200,000 times more powerful, which again I'm finding it hard to get my head around, but it makes it the most powerful radio transmitter in the entire southern hemisphere. It's just mind-blowing. And one of the things I love about it is that this whole trip we've been encountering amazing, beautiful things that are just awe-striking, but this is the first one that hasn't been carved out by nature. We as a species built that, which I think is just amazingly impressive. Now it's about this point that we'd probably cut to some amazing drone shots by Ren and Andy, but we're not going to because I don't want to disappear in the night. So unfortunately you're just going to have to enjoy it from a distance like I am.
All right, Dan, the last time we had a Prado Altitude, we flooded the engine and there was a whole bunch of, I said a challenge to you was to not break this Prado over our 2-week adventure.
Yeah.
You're going to hand the keys over to me?
It runs perfectly. You've got no worries there.
Are you sure?
Yes, 100%, you've got my word.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll forget about all the sand that's inside.
You can look all you like, other than a little bit of grime and just natural filth from doing what we've done. You will find nothing wrong with this car whatsoever.
Okay, so can I have the keys?
Yes, you can.
Well done. Now, you didn't kill the Prado, so this is a congratulatory gift, but it's also a gift because you didn't get to swim with the whale sharks on this amazing adventure, so I got you a little one to take home with you. And look, the car key almost fits in its mouth.
Johnny, that's wonderful, thank you. You get to keep the keys.
Thank you.
And then you also get to drive this car off the beach, which is possibly the final twist in the story, because if you get bogged, then it's your problem now, not mine.
God. I have one task and it's to get it from here to the truck that's waiting for us.
Okay, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you, I'm gonna walk. He has gone. He's literally gone. Just me and my whale shark. Oh my God, it's even made from recycled plastic, how cute. And this, sadly, is where this voyage comes to an end, at a place that is neither cryptically named or violates the Trade Descriptions Act, because just look at it, it's called Turquoise Bay. In 2022, this vividly coloured beach was recognised as the #1 beach in the whole of the Southern Hemisphere and #3 in the world. Despite that, its remoteness protects it from the same high tourist traffic of other global beach hotspots, so it really is as unspoilt as it looks. Perhaps this is just a little patriotism speaking, but I challenge you to find a more quintessential vision of paradise anywhere in the world. Floating in the calm 25-degree water, it was easy to forget that this is your average winter's day in the northwest. And instead, my mind was full of all the incredible experiences Western Australia had delivered. From the exhilarating to the serene, the charming to the fascinating, from the desert to the ocean. This entire trip has felt a little bit like being in a parallel universe, quite literally. There's a resemblance to that parallel coast over on the east of Australia, but Western Australia does an amazing job of giving everything its own unique identity. There's the iconic dusts that range in spectrum from those brilliant whites all the way through to rust red, but here they actually meet the sea. And then there's the teeming coral life out on the reefs. Just as abundant as the Great Barrier Reef, but here in Western Australia it has its own unique colour palette. And then there are the roads. They have this strange sense of familiarity, but they lead you to places you've never been before or could scarcely even imagine. Yes, Western Australia is a long way from, well, pretty much everything actually, but if you can make the effort to get out here, a lot of the time you'll feel like you have this incredible, magical corridor all to yourself. Australia is a playground for the adventurous, and if you're as footloose as we are and want to see more unique road trips around this incredible continent, have a look at some of our previous Out There Odysseys, and hit subscribe so you won't miss the next one.